Hello, welcome back to the Pro Take. I'm Jair Brooks Davis, joined by Andrew Fantuccio along with Dexter Schmovanian, and we're here to talk a little Major League Baseball free agency. Gentlemen, great to have you. How are you feeling?
I'm doing great, thanks.
Good to be here.
Great, so let's dive into it. The Texas Rangers signed pitcher Jon Gray along with shortstop Corey Seager and Marcus Semien. The Rangers were 60 and 102 last season. Were these additions good enough to bring them within the top two spots in the American League West? Dexter, let me start out with you.
The Rangers were a bad team last year, and I mean really bad. A couple of big free agency signings, yes, Semien and Seager, they're both great, unbelievable players, but they aren't going to magically turn the Rangers into a contender. They don't have a deep enough roster. They're better than they were last year, but they're barely a wild card team, if even that. They're definitely not going to challenge Houston, and they'll barely be putting any pressure on Oakland or Seattle.
As much as I am a fan of these moves, the Texas Rangers are nowhere close to being a contender in the AL West. They lost 102 games last season. There aren't three players in the history of baseball that can turn a team around like that.
Okay, so what should the Rangers' approach be for the rest of this offseason, Andrew?
The Rangers have a couple ways they can handle this. They could keep throwing money around, sign Chris Bryant, maybe see what Nick Castellanos might cost, but we've seen how teams who are super aggressive in the offseason fare once it's time to play ball. Remember what happened last year with the San Diego Padres? The Rangers have made their splashes already. Now it's time for them to add depth. What they should be doing is especially looking at the starting rotation. Last year, Rangers starting pitchers had a combined ERA over 5. That is unacceptable and cannot happen again this year if the Rangers want to be competitive.
I agree. First of all, they definitely need to improve in pitching, but they got to stay low budget. Blowing all your money in one offseason while you're rebuilding always ends in chaos. They should work on acquiring and developing young talent to support the newly acquired Semien and Seager down the line, because even with those two stars, they are not going to be winning anything this upcoming season, and they're not going to be winning anything in 2023 either. So they should focus on the future where they have a chance.
So let's transition over to the Seattle Mariners, who are also in the American League West. The Mariners traded for Adam Frazier along with signing current American League Cy Young Award-winning pitcher Robbie Ray. Seattle finished in second place last year at 90 and 72, just 5 games behind the Houston Astros. Will these moves be able to help propel them to first place? Dexter, let me start off with you.
Well, Robbie Ray was for sure a huge signing. Seattle already had a solid pitching staff led by the young Chris Flexen's emergence last year, but they were in need of a true dominant ace that can shut down opposing lineups, and now they have one. And this could really help round out a nice young roster to potentially contend with Houston.
I'm hesitant to say yes at the moment. Let's remember, the Astros have won this division the last 5 seasons. Until someone actually leapfrogs them in the standings, I can't say they've been knocked off the mountain.
So, Andrew, what else should the Mariners do in order to take that next step in being the top team in that division?
I don't think there are any more external moves Seattle needs to make at this point. Right now, it's just up to the young guys on the Seattle roster to keep improving. Chris Flexen and Kyle Lewis have been great young players for them so far. They got to keep improving. The entire roster is set now. It's just about time and development.
The Mariners should not overspend this offseason. They have Robbie Ray, who is the missing piece so far. They are a good young team. They can contend for years. Now is the time to focus on gelling everyone together and making a true contender that can scare Houston and be a real neighborhood threat.
Okay, so let's take a trip from the American League West, and then we're going to go over to the American League East, where the Toronto Blue Jays have signed Kevin Gausman, who some thought could have possibly been the Cy Young Award winner, including me, but he's choosing a change of scenery from the Bay Area and moving to Canada. The Blue Jays finished in 4th place with a record of 91 and 71. Will they fall behind in the American League East in 2022? Dexter, I'm going to start off with you.
I don't see them falling behind because all there really is Baltimore, who's, no offense to Orioles fans, but they're the Baltimore Orioles. They are a very bad team. The Blue Jays could potentially move past the Yankees, who had a very disappointing year last year, trending downwards and haven't done anything to improve. Boston can be unpredictable. We don't know if they'll win the World Series next year or they'll miss the playoffs. It's a mystery to me. The Rays, they're not sniffing the Rays. Rays are winning it again. But I don't see the Blue Jays getting past third place in the division next year.
Semmy and Ray are big losses, but I don't think those departures really hurt the Blue Jays all that much. The Red Sox seem to be trending backwards at the moment. The Rays have only made a few minor moves, and the Yankees, I don't think they know which direction they're heading in. Right now, the hierarchy in the AL East is the same as it was last season.
So, the Blue Jays lost Robbie Ray, but signed Kevin Gausman to a 5-year deal. How do you feel about the addition of Gausman, and who would you rather have between the two? Andrew, I'm going to start out with you.
Getting Gausman makes up for the loss of Ray. They're both incredibly comparable to one another. It's actually kind of scary. But if you were to ask me, I'd rather have Kevin Gausman. Yes, Robbie Ray throws strikes and gets a lot of people out, but he also gives up a ton of home runs. Kevin Gausman keeps the ball in the ballpark. Plus, he already has experience pitching the AL East. He did come up with the Baltimore Orioles.
It's really hard to tell. They're, as Andrew put it, they are probably the most similar pitchers in baseball. It's very hard to choose, but I'd go Ray because, Andrew, I don't think you've heard of the term death by paper cut. Some contact hitters, you can just get hits, and other times sometimes there's double plays, and they get out of it. But other times, the team just keeps on hitting. You need a true striker-outer, dominant, intimidating guy that guys on the plate are just scared of and don't want to go up against.
Okay, so we have minimal time left, but I'm going to end it with one last question for the both of you. Unfortunately, the lockout is a dark cloud right now over Major League Baseball, but when the sport returns, which team do you think made the biggest impact in this year's free agency? Dexter, let me start off with you.
I'd definitely say the Mets. With Scherzer pairing that dude with DeGrom, they have arguably the two best pitchers in baseball right now. Sterling Marte and Mark Canha are great addition to the outfield. Eduardo Escobar, they've improved more than any other team in baseball this offseason, and I'm looking forward to see what they do next year.
It's way too early to tell. Yes, there's been a ton of big moves already, but there's also a lot of free agents still out there yet to be signed. I'm excited to see how the rest of this offseason shapes up.
I'm Jared Brooks-Davis, joined with Andrew Fantuccio and Dexter Schmavonian. You're listening to The Pro Take on 88.7 FM WRHU.